That was the end of the tiny trainer, or the beginning. It will rise again. Hey guys, this is Chad. Welcome back to the channel, and we're going to talk about the little tiny trainer today. I have a lot of RC stuff going on right now with the drag car and everything like that, playing with that. But when it comes to FPV quads, my attention has been focused to this. Well, that's the one piece of the tiny trainer. That's the nice little injection molded canopy that comes with it, made by HQ props. So the tiny trainer is meant to be a scaled down version of the Racer 4 for DRL. Evan Turner, Heads Up FPV, 530 Fly 533 came out with this, and it's been a hot little racing drone. And you know that I really like flying the micros. My favorite micro would be the Diatone 339, the Falco X version, just because I like the Falco X, because you just do the presets and it kind of works really good on micros. Actually, I think in some cases better than 5-inch quads. So we're going to go over some build tips, things I've learned about this, and who this might be for. If you're really big into like freestyle, acrobatic, kebab, toothpick type of builds, this probably isn't going to be it. But if you want something that has a little bit more meat behind it, a little bit heavier, flies a little bit faster with the bigger motors and stuff like that, and you want to practice racing and scale to DRL, I mean, this is going to be your ship. It's a tough little build. It's not impossible. There's people, this has been their first build that they've actually done. I'm very impressed with what a lot of the new people can do. Some of them obviously are putting in the work and the research and everything else. But hey, give it a try. When they come back in stock, I definitely would recommend it, just because there's nothing that I've flown that quite feels like it. And it makes me think about things like the Oh My God remix and its neutral flying perspective with everything underslung. But if the battery, well, anyway, let's get back to this stuff. So I want to talk about how I built mine and some things to kind of pass along to you guys and show you what is going on with this quad after I did my big crash. So unfortunately, after that, I lost a camera, and my UNIFY Pro 32 decided not to work again. So I've got some spare parts coming in through that, doing some testing. So this is the recommended setup that they are using: jump band props, the Zing motors. This little quad is really cool. I mean, the way it flies is a lot different than any type of 3-inch in that toothpick class. It's a little bit heavier. You definitely got to give it a little bit more throttle, and it goes a lot faster. It's definitely meant for racing. It's not that much of a acrobatic type of quad for freestyling. Most of that really has to do with just its flight characteristics. Really a lot different the way that this feels and handles in the air. And we'll play some beta flight footage here on that, and I'll kind of talk over that. But what I want to show you first is just the build. So I'm using the Tiny's LED board here that has the LED strips that plug into it, so you get the full lighting effect of, like, a Racer 4, which is super sweet. And then it's got this little base back here that you put your CROSSFIRE on one side. It's got an Immortal T mini mount here, and then you can put your Pro 32 on there, stick your dipole through there, and this just goes right down there. So it's a pretty tight build, using an all-in-one. I originally was using the beta, but this popped on me as soon as I fired it up. So I threw the Mamba F411 in it and flashed a Falco X on there, and I really liked the way that it was flying. Evan does have a couple of dump files on the product page for this, for Betaflight 4.1 and 4.2, and I thought they flew pretty good. But the big problem with this quad is its serviceability, and that's kind of why I decided to go with Falco X, because once you load Falco X, you can do everything on there without plugging it into a configurator. And once you put your canopy on here, You have to zip tie the arms down and everything like that. There's no way to get to the USB port. So Falco X just seemed like a better fit for me, and it flew really good on, I think I was using the Deacon Freestyle tune. I'm not sure. So, but at any rate, here's the little adapter that comes in the front. So, you know, you put your camera in there. This slides down over these two front standoffs. And then you got this battery compartment underneath here, which is this molded TPU type of part that you just slide your 450 or 523S battery into. So a couple things that I would recommend that you do with this build is you don't get any M2 standoffs with it. M2 type of washers or anything. And when you tighten this stuff down really good, it'll pull through this TPU. So you can see I have some here. Probably should put it in some other places, but I actually just got the kit the other day. So I haven't got around to that yet. The other thing that I'm using from my Toothpick 3 leftover parts is instead of using like the little nylon type of nuts that don't lock into place and stuff, is I'm actually using M2 Nylock nuts to secure my stack screws and everything like that, just to keep everything solid and from wiggling around. I just have always had better luck when I build my toothpick builds and stuff with things like that. They create good spacing. You don't have to double up or nothing. So that is another thing that I highly recommend. So M2 washers and M2 lock nuts, those would be a big improvement as far as getting everything together. As far as the rest of the thing, it's going to come down to what flight controller that you're using and how you're going to be soldering and wiring things up, because it is pretty tight. And when you get everything in there and get the canopy on there and smashing it down, you know, you don't want to smash stuff down like super hard. I found that Falco X flies a lot better on these smaller boards when they're really tight, and just let the gummies do the work. So just kind of tighten that stuff down. You can see I am using those kind of nylon nuts here on the top, but when it comes to the actual standoffs, nylon lock nuts for sure. So once I got all that figured out and things were flying a little bit better, this is probably like my 7th or 8th pack through it, and you can see a little bit of oscillations in it, stuff like that. Nothing big. Feels really good in the air, even on Betaflight, but I just thought it felt and handled a little bit better on Falco X. Plus, again, like I said, you don't have to keep plugging your USB cable into it. I did all my like tuning and fixing and stuff like that without the canopy, all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about how this thing flies. Prop line is like right there on the flight controller and everything like that. Your battery is all underneath there. The camera is like right there on the prop line. So it's got that real type of neutral flying feel. Feels really different, but good in the air. Again, it's not like a super acrobatic type of quad. You know, when it comes to the 3-inch stuff, Kebab pretty much put the hammer down on what a 3-inch freestyle quad should feel like, how it should perform, and how much it should weigh and be built. I believe that 110 to 115 gram mark is that sweet spot, and that's where I enjoy my Falco X Diatone 339 and my TP3 build all the time. Now this thing comes in at like 172 grams, I think, so considerable amount of weight. Flight time, you know, racing, you're, you know, around my yard, 2.5 to 3 minutes, depending upon how much I go after it. But you know, the thing I really felt on this was just like how you really can go after it. Like, I'm not a racer at all, but like I found myself just like flying this thing so much faster and more aggressive than anything that I have. And the cornering on this thing, you can really pour the throttle on in the corners, and it'll just like totally move on you and just stay on that line and just whip right around those corners. just was loving this thing, and then I hit that stop sign, and have to wait on parts now, which isn't a big deal because it's been really windy around here and lots of rain and stuff, so it hasn't been very ideal quad flying weather lately. But stuff will be here soon. I get this thing rebuilt, cleaned up, and so here's going to be a little bit of footage of the last flight of this ship before I destroyed it. Playing with the lap timer on the TBS Fusion module. I'm trying that out versus rapid fire, and I'm having a good time with that. It's got the built-in lap timer, so this was the first time that I was actually testing it, and I did not really know how things were going to go. You know, at the end, you saw at the beginning of the video when I completed my 2 laps, and I wasn't expecting the entire middle of the screen to be filled up with stuff, and I was just kind of looking at it and not looking at what I was actually doing, and I hit that stop sign, which is funny because I've never hit that stop sign before. But this should give you a good idea about, like, just, you know, the speed and like how this thing flies. I think it was it might have been windy out, but you know, a lot better on Falco X, just the way that it was feeling and flying for me. Just totally loving it. And I think the demise of the quad is going to be coming up here. I just kind of turn around and then come back the other way, and I'm all excited, and then I just smack right into that stop sign. So, and then everything fails. So that is going to do it for this. We'll come back with some more video whenever we have this thing back together, and we can talk about it a little bit more. But pretty happy with this so far. So I definitely would recommend you guys giving it a shot. So we will talk to you later.